Hi guys, welcome to this channel and thanks for viewing this video, and please don't forget to support this channel by liking and subscribing to this channel. In this video, I would like to talk about the input statement in Java, and I'm also going to show you how you can use this input statement to initialize your variables in your program. I have already made a video on variable initialization using the assignment statement, which is represented by the equal sign. For example, I write age. So this is an example of a variable initialization using the assignment statement. So the equal here is the assignment statement. So you might have understood that there are two ways to initialize a variable. The first method is by using the assignment statement, and the second one is by using the input statement. So in this video, I will basically talk about the second method, which is initializing the variable by using the input statement. So the input statement will allow you to store data into your variable by directly typing the values from an input device like your keyboard, instead of using the assignment statement as I have shown you a couple of seconds ago. So basically, you are going to be able to initialize your variables while your program is already running by simply typing your values to be stored in your variables from your keyboard. So all this is possible. So the input statement is made possible thanks to a class that is provided by Java programming language, and that class is called the class scanner. So how do you do that is by, first of all, creating an input object. So we create an input object based on the class scanner. So this is the code that you need to write is scanner, and then you have to give the name to the input object you want to create. As for me, I'm going to call it input. So you can call it any other name that you want, but I will call it input because it's going to refer to my input object. So you can call it console, you can call it whatever name that you think is the best for you. So, and I would say scanner input equal new scanner. Into the bracket, I would say system.in. So as I said before, input here represents the input device. So that's a name that I have given to my input device, that I've chosen to represent my input device. Scanner here is the class scanner that allows us to write input statements. And system.in here represents the input device. So as for me, my input device is by default, my computer's keyboard. So it is represented by this system.in here. So here, as you can see, I have an error. So why I'm having an error is because in order to use the class scanner, we have to import the java.util.scanner. So all I have to do is to put my cursor on scanner here and come down here and click on import scanner. So when I click on import scanner, you'll see that I will have import java.util.scanner showing on top of my code here, and then I will not have any error anymore. So this is how you create an input object. So now the next portion of code will now depend on the nature of the value you want to input inside your variable. So I will give the first example that will be that I want to input from my keyboard a string value. So I will start by, first of all, declaring my string value. So I would say string name. So this is a declaration of my string variable. And next, what I will need to write is now to tell my program that the value that I want to store in my variable must be typed from my keyboard. And how am I going to do that is I'm going to write the name of my variable and say equal. So this is the assignment statement. And then here I'm going to write this code, input. So input that next. And then I'm going to put this semicolon here. So input here is the name that I have given to my object, the object I created here. And then next is a method that will make sure that it's going to capture the string value that I'm going to type from my keyboard. I'm having an error because I have declared my my object outside of my main method. If I declared it inside my main method, you will see that I will not get any error. So let me come here. So now I don't have any error. But if I want to keep my object declaration here, all I have to do is to make my object static. So I have to change my object to static. So I click here and then static, I don't have any error anymore. So this is it. So now I'm going to add some portion of code. I will say system.out that print line. So I would say your name. So I'm adding this, I would say, what is your name? I'm adding this portion of code just to explain better what is going to happen. And I will add another system that out that print line, and I will say your name is. So here I will use the concatenation operator, and I will write the name of my variable like this. Okay. So what is going to happen is that when I will run this program, I will have this message, what is your name, showing on my console. And then this next line of code will execute, allowing me to type my string value inside my console. And then when I will hit enter, I will see this message appear on my screen. So I will see your name is colon, and then my program will show me the value, the string value that I typed in my console. So that's actually what is going to happen. So let's see when I run the program. Yeah, so when I run the program on my console, I have what is your name? And when I come, I will say my name is Mike. And when I hit enter, now you see down here, I have your name is Mike. So your name is here is this your name is the string value, and Mike here, as you can see, is the value I typed from my keyboard. So this is actually how it is done if you are dealing with string values. So now if I'm dealing with let's say an integer value, I would say I'm going to declare an integer. I'm going to say int age and semicolon, and I will say, what is your age? Okay, so I will change the variable name to be age here. And then what will happen, because I'm using an integer, so now I need to change this portion of code. So I will, instead of writing input that next and open and close the bracket, I will write input that next int like this to make sure that the value that I'm going to type will need to be an integer value. and make sure that the int that you write here is with a capital I. And then here in the system out, I need to write my integer variable, which is age. So I'll say your age is, yeah, so you will see that it's going to follow the same principle. So when I run, I will have what is your age, and I will write, let's say 18. For example, if I hit enter, you say your age is 18. So 18 here is the value I entered here. So this is it. So what will happen if, for example, I want to be able to input from my keyboard a decimal number? So what I will do, I will declare a decimal number. So I will say double, and I will say height. So like I want to store my height, for example. So, and here I will just change this here. I will say, what is your height? And the variable here, I will say height, because that's the name I've given to my variable. And then, so this portion of code, I will need to change it as well. So I need to make sure that my program will allow me to write a decimal number. So I would say, instead of saying input that next that int, I would rather say input that next that double, like this. And here I'll make sure that I want to output my the right variable. Okay, so now here, that's how you have to write this portion of code when you want to input from your keyboard a decimal number. And if I run, what is your height? I would say 5.9. If I run, now you see here, oh, my bad. I'm supposed to write your height here. Yeah, so let me come back. I'll say 5.9. Yeah, so now your height is 5.9. So that's actually it. That's when you want to write your height, the value of your height. And there's another thing that we also need to know is that sometimes you want, because if you could see, I would just take an example. So I will come back to the first example I gave, your name. What is your name? And I say name here, and input, I will say next. And here I will say name, and your name is. So even though it is here that I'm writing here, even though it is a string value, you see that if I write more than one name, and I say, for example, what is your name? I say Mike Jr. and hit enter, you see that your name is Mike. So it's like it's only picking this name Mike, the first name. So it's not considering the space between Mike and Junior here. So when it says the space, it's like it breaks. It only picks the first string value that I have entered. So how to make sure that I want it to pick like these two names? What I need to do is to change this portion of code and write so instead of writing input that next, I will write input that next line, like this. And you will see that if I run, what is your name? I will type Mike Jr. And if I hit enter, now the whole name is appearing here, Mike Jr. So the next line method here allows you to write it allows you to be able to capture a whole line, okay, of your string. If you write your string in a whole line, like you have many words, it will allow you to capture all the words. But if you just write next, the method next here, it will only capture the first word in your string, if your string has various words. So now this is what happened. So the next line will allow you to write, to capture a whole line, okay, of your string. So as you have seen, so the next line method allows you to retrieve the string value until the end of the line. So I could write like a message, something very long. Let me see, let me run this. And I could say my name, my name is, sorry, is Mike Kyle Jr., something like this. And if it run, you see it's picking the whole line until the end of my line. So that's actually how it is done. So just to recall what we have done, we've seen how to, so this is for the name. We could use name equal input that next line. We could say name equal input that next, like this. For this one, it's only going to retrieve the first word in your string, okay? And we could also see that for integer values, like the age here, the method we had to use, so we had to say input, and then the method we had to use was input next int, and open close the bracket like this. So this method next int is used to retrieve integer values, and to retrieve decimal numbers values, we use the method next double, like this. So that's it concerning the input statements. And here, as you can see, related to the previous video, we have used the concatenation operator to be able to play around with the variables and the string, and to interact with our program. Okay, so that was it, I guess, concerning the input statement, how you can initialize your variable using the input statement. And thank you very much for viewing. I hope the video was informative, and I hope to see you in the next video. And please don't forget to support this channel by liking the video and also subscribing to the channel. Bye.